Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available on the table near the entrance or online at the city's website. Consent agenda items are routine items which are voted on in one motion and vote. Unfinished or new business items are voted on separately. Councilors will be given the opportunity for questions or comments, followed by citizens who must speak at the podium, identifying themselves. Citizens will be allowed to speak one time per agenda item for up to 3 minutes. Citizens who wish to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have the opportunity to do so during public comment section of the agenda for up to 3 minutes. And kicking us off tonight will be the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next up, disclosure of conflict of interest. Any counselors have any conflicts of interest on any of the votes that they will take this evening? Seeing none, I will welcome Christina for our fourth quarter finance report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've tallied all of the bond payments and all of your schedules that were made this year. You had the updated on all of the grant accounts and the reserve accounts for your review. But I think from my viewpoint, and I thought what the council would be most interested in, is the projections of where we look to close out the year. Of course, as I always say, all of the numbers are unaudited. They can substantially change depending on how much ambulance revenue and things that come in July or August that were earned within the current year. Mm-hmm. So if they pull back 150, 200,000, and then we always have last minute bills that are paid in July that are not reflected, obviously, of June 30th when I do the report. So just be aware, it can fluctuate anywhere. I would say bank on 300,000 one way or the other. We certainly hope that it's more revenues than what we're paying out. If I get that much in invoices late, I'm going to start talking to people probably. So anyway, when we get down to it, the police chief did notify me though on his, because there was one calculation that was coming over from the second page incorrectly. The formula was not, so his total for the end of the year under police was, I believe, 115,301.15, and I think it came over as almost 300,000. But if you look at the attachment, you clearly can see where the revenues did not minus one from the other, the way that they should. He actually brought in more than the projection. And the total came to like 330 something thousand, but what it was the earnings was the difference between the two numbers. So instead of that number that you had for him on that page, for the revenue number, oh, is this the original? The difference between the two should have been 75,426. Mm-hmm. The difference between the 230, we projected 237,702. The second column, he earned 313. So he earned $75,000 more, and that column was incorrect.
So could you explain to us then the bottom line impact of that?
It changes the difference on the main page from what was originally reported under the police law enforcement line. That 300,000, I think, was on the original. I've replaced mine, so I apologize. Is 115,301.15. That should have been listed. So when you go down to your total summary on the bottom of the page, it would be the difference of that roughly $160,000 difference, 180. But
I might be on the wrong page, but.
Sorry, I don't have a better number written out. I just found out this afternoon and went in and changed it.
No, that's fine. I think one of the things that's tough is that on this particular page, like we have on the other one, that if we just carry the header on the third page so that we know as we're following across the lines.
Yeah,
where it's,
I
you know-
apologize.
No, you're fine. Like you just, I think that kind of helps as people are trying to go see where the mistake is. So we fixed this, correct? Is that what you said? You just said you plugged
I
it in?
fixed it on my copies, but I wanted to make you aware.
Okay.
What I
Will you
gave.
resend it out tonight
I
or
will
tomorrow?
resend it out.
All right, thank you.
For you
I
to see it.
appreciate that. Okay.
And we do know, I was talking to the fire chief, that they had outstanding revenues that they got supposedly in July for June of $158,000 that will be added back on by the auditor. So as I said, when you get to that bottom line, I don't expect when all the adjustments are done that much will change, but depending on what the auditor pulls back from July for earnings and amends for payouts, it will go up and down a little bit. But I did feel that we're going to be pretty stable in the fund balance overall. If you looked at all of the numbers, it appears the difference in the departmental total expenses and revenues, when you get to the bottom of that, was $692,000 that we expect to be to the good. You go down to non-operational expenses, and it looks like we're going to be $113,000 to the good there. Part of that is the repayment on those ITs that we could not put back toward the bonds because they did not allow early payment of the 52. And we did not go out for bond services this year, and we budget $55,000 to prepare the documents and to sell the bonds in the closing. So that gave that extra that was not expended. We had tax overlays and adjustments. In that category, it shows 805. So you're looking at 1.5 there. Of course, there will be those other adjustments that come in. So we're pretty close to the 1.75 that was used last year. So.
I just wanted to comment that I was pleased to see in your memo that revenues exceeded projection by 900,000 roughly? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, I believe you are, yeah. A lot of that was clearly excise tax. And I did point out that our tax collector had spoken with Enterprise, and they are registering their fleet vehicles for Waterville here.
Right.
Which has made a difference of over $150,000 in the excise line.
Yeah.
And then we've picked up others. So that's really good news.
It really is, and I think it, for me, it confirms the direction we're going with the budget, where we are seeing increased revenues, and we're not seeing an impact to the fund balance. So, good job, everyone.
Is there any other questions I can answer? Okay,
No. Thank you as always.
thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, next, tonight we have a fire PD CDS presentation. Who's doing that? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name's Dan Mayotte. I'm a firefighter paramedic for the city of Waterville. I've been in the city for 24 years in some fashion with the fire department, so got a little bit of history here. Tonight, we wanted to take a moment to talk to you about a CDS application we put in with Senator Collins and Senator King to upgrade some critical infrastructure here in the city that directly affects communications, both here in the city and most of Kennebec County, actually. They're going to be firing up my PowerPoint presentation here. Hopefully, you've all received your packet that I had. I'm going to try to do a 5,000-foot overview of that packet. I don't want to bore you with all the details this evening. At any point, if you folks have questions for me, please stop and ask. I can get kind of technical and off track. I don't So kind of like while we're here, we're going to go over some stuff of how we ended up in the situation that we're currently in.
Just turn that mic off
It says on. Maybe I'm not talking loud
Now
enough.
you're good. Now you're good.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about our aging infrastructure, the regional model that we've come up with to save money and work forward. We're going to talk a little bit about the CDS funding and the future planning and implementation if the money should show up. So here in the city of Waterville, we run a 911 communication center, services 9 communities, including the city of Waterville. And then within that, there's a police radio infrastructure network, a fire department radio infrastructure network. The dispatchers have consoles that they work out of. There's a computer-aided dispatch and records management system, a huge software portion that runs everything and tracks everybody. And then there's fire station alerting, which is the bells and whistles that go off to make sure that we go to our calls appropriately. We're going to talk about our aging infrastructure. Some of the radios that we have are over 20 years old. I know you can't really see in that picture. One of those radios, or 2 of those radios are almost 40 years old and they're still working. They have well exceeded their usefulness, and they're at a critical juncture of failing at any point. The radios themselves are beyond serviceability. In the past, we've used eBay to get parts. Those parts are really no longer available even on eBay. The radio system that we have in there now was put in 2008, and at that time it wasn't like brand new technology. The system has since been replaced, I think, about 3 times over in the outside world. And one of the reasons why this became to an issue was recently, as we became a 911 dispatch center, they allotted us with 3 911 answering consoles. Waterville Communications quickly became the 12th busiest communications center and the 4th busiest dispatcher answering 911 in the state. And then they said, well, you could have a 4th console, which is great, but we need, in order to meet the rules that are set forth in the 911 infrastructure, you're supposed to have a radio console with that 911 phone. They don't make parts, they don't make pieces, and we can't establish that 4th console to be ready and prepared. So that is one of the driving forces behind this. And then the CAD, the computer-aided dispatch system, the software behind tracking and that the cops use and everybody monitors and uses, was developed in the 80s. And we're still using it today in 2026. It has far exceeded its usefulness. The parent company that currently owns it is no longer doing updates, and it doesn't do the things that we need it to do. Simple things like GPS tracking, which you would think would be amazing, be able to track an ambulance and send it to the closest, to a critical call, but they can't see that type of stuff on their screen. So, and then with that software, Augusta PD has the same software, and they were actually hacked a couple of years ago, and software was held for ransom, a large amount of ransom before it got released. The IT department here does a very good job of defending our infrastructure every day, but it's just a matter of time before this infrastructure gets hacked, and then we're in the same boat that Augusta PD was. And then we just recently touched on the no expansion or interruptibility amongst anything else. So some of the operational risks on the next slide. We talked about the software and the hardware being at risk of failure and infrastructure hacking. We don't have a backup for the backup for the backup. The system that we have at the fire station that kind of backs up the communication center is 40 years old, and that's kind of pieced together. So if something were to happen, there's no guarantee that we have a system in place to take right back over, which bothers me personally. There's obviously cybersecurity concerns, operational inefficiencies that the dispatchers are not able to do the stuff that they need to do to make it quickly. The 911 phone that has the mapping and the addressing does not communicate with the CAD system. So you call 911 and say, I'm at 123 Main Street. You'd like to say that, hey, that would just pop into the CAD and they could move on faster and help you and get aid to you faster. But nope, we actually have to type it in because that stuff doesn't communicate back and forth. Next slide, please. So part of this CDS stuff is to also rebuild and organize or better make our radio systems much better. You've heard the police chief here in the past talk about how his officers can't communicate. The same issue applies to the fire department. There's several areas in town that we cannot communicate. One of the big areas that we run into a lot is the interstate south of KMD. That is a dead zone for us, and that is a very dangerous dead zone as we park giant apparatus and people go by us at 80 miles an hour. So there's a high potential of an accident up there, and if we can't talk to people, it's not good. It's not safe for anybody. So part of what we want to do is create a robust network in this city so that I just talked about having a backup for a backup. The radio system, if we have what's called one repeater, if that goes down, we're all in the dark, and that's not good. The plan is to create a 3 to 4 repeater network. So much similar to your cell phone when you're walking around or driving around, that it bounces from tower to tower to get you the best signal so you don't drop your call. That's going to be the same thing with our infrastructure and our radio network, so that no matter where we are in the city and even mutual aid outskirts of town, that we can still communicate and get emergent traffic out. And if one of those towers should happen to fail, struck by lightning or ice damage or what have you, the other repeaters will fill in. I don't really need to go over the sites so much, but just know that we're going to be using the big tower that's at the communication center. The Waterville Airport already has a pre-existing tower, and we already have access to Colby College water tower. So the infrastructure's in place. And it's going to allow us to have future expansion capability as well. Next slide, please. Part of this process is a regional effort. There's a total of 11 communities involved in this process from the cities of Augusta and Waterville and basically the suburbs that they serve. Like I said, Waterville services 8 communities besides us. Augusta services 2. That covers about 70,000 people in total. And like I said, I already talked about how busy Waterville Comm Center is, but Augusta PD Comm Center is just as busy, if not a little busier, as they do about 40,000 more calls for service than we do. Next slide, please. So as we move forward, the project has been broken into 3 different sections: the CAD and record management system, the radio infrastructure and dispatch consoles, and the fire station alerting system. Next slide. So what we've done, I was actually called into the office by Chief Essler about 4 years ago with the basic statement of fix my radios. So I've been working on this for 4 years trying to get funding. I know we've approached council in the past to try to get it added to a bond and it's been cut. So we've been looking for different opportunities for funding. They don't necessarily have grants for communication centers like they do for fire trucks through the Fire Act grant and things like that. So it became very challenging. We initially reached out to Senator Collins' office. Chuck, the gentleman from the Augusta office, has been fantastic in working with us. We worked with both them and Senator King's office to develop a package. This is the 2nd year that we've applied for it, and it got approved this year. It's a total of $1.89 million, so almost $1.9 million with non-matching funds, which is fantastic. That means hopefully there'll be a sum of money that'll show up and we'll be able to start this project. Currently, as of last Monday when I talked to their office, it's still sitting in appropriations. Washington, D.C. politics be what they are, they're not moving forward at the moment. So until they get a chance to move forward, then we're kind of stuck in limbo. It's probably, if it does make it through, it's probably still going to be another year or so before funds would make it into the city. Next slide, please. So a proposed timeline. Once we make it through appropriations, we're going to go through a bid process. The bid process is going to be broken into 3 different sections. Once again, being the CAD and record management system, the radio infrastructure system, and the fire station alerting system, as they're kind of 3 substantially separate, and not one company is going to be able to cover all 3. 2027 to 2028, we're hopefully going to go out to the bid process, go through the whole bid process and get that approved. Procurement, installation, and then training and implementation by 2028. So we're still a long ways away of fixing our problem, but there's potentially a finish line in sight. And that is it for my 5,000-foot overview. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much and didn't get too complicated, but if you folks have any questions of me, now is the time.
Councilor Beal?
So this applies to both police and fire. You would have a system that supports both?
That is correct. This is it supports police, fire, EMS, the whole gambit, everything under one umbrella.
Is there any involvement or interest with Augusta in trying to consolidate facilities?
That has not been a discussion. That's beyond, I'm just the technical advisor for this and the kind of the committee chair. So if that's something that you need to have answered, you'll have to reach out to people higher up in the food chain than not me.
So you're going to get 1.9 million hopefully, and this is all just for Waterville, or is it for Waterville and Augusta?
Waterville and Augusta.
And how is that broken out, or?
The CAD system basically is the key feature in what we're splitting. It makes a lot more sense for us to go in it, because we're both running the same software now. Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense for us to regionalize that aspect. And it allows a few things. So if for whatever reason our communication center fails or the one in Augusta fails, they can literally take the dispatchers and transport them to each one, and we can back each other up. Once again, it's a backup for a backup. You know, there's been, I remember years and years and years ago, we had a standoff situation in front of the communication center. Those dispatchers really needed to be out of there, but they didn't have a place to go. So if that were to happen again, the dispatchers can literally be removed. We can flip a switch and they start dispatching from a different space.
Thank you.
What's Augusta's like skin in the game on this? Like, are they at 1.8 million to upgrade their thing, or what? Like, how does Augusta fit when we talk about regional collaboration with Waterville serving as the lead? What does Augusta bring to the table to bring this together?
So the goal with this is to regionalize the computer-aided dispatch system so that we're in the same umbrella.
Do they have this umbrella already? We late to this party? Like, are they already up and running on?
Augusta is not. They're in the same boat that we're in as far as the CAD system and the record management system. They're a little bit more leaps and bounds ahead of us on the radio side. Okay. But the goal is to make the CAD system all one so that we can share. You know, for example, if GPS is working and the ambulance happens to be in Augusta dropping off a patient, and there's a cardiac arrest across the street from the hospital, and our truck from Waterville happens to be the closest one, whether it doesn't matter what town line you're in, it makes sense to send the closest appropriate truck to save that person's life. And vice versa, if Augusta's traveling through, coming back from a transfer, they'll be able to see that in the CAD system. So that if we have life-threatening, like somebody's not breathing, we can divert and use resources in northern Kennebec County appropriately.
Just so I understand, so when we wrote this grant, was the grant written in a way that was inclusive of Augusta?
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sorry if I went around.
No, that's fine. Like I mean, often you see that, and that, you know, I think people like, and probably the reason why things like this get approved is like people like to have money stretched a long way. So if we're collaborating with multiple entities, then, you know, we don't have to give X number of dollars to Waterville, X number of dollars to Augusta. Right. We can, you know, it makes it cleaner. So, okay.
And that's exactly why we pitched this, because we both needed the update.
Yeah.
So it made sense. And we cover 70,000 people, and we're moving together, and we can communicate and talk to each other, which is the big part of it.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Councilor DeBrito.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. My question is are you looking at any other grants out there besides this one on the federal level?
There's not a lot of grants to choose from. That's the problem, is that the communication stuff doesn't fit like law enforcement has the ability to get grants for click it or ticket and things like that, so they can support overtime. The fire department has the ability to get grants to buy equipment, things like that. Communication center are in this weird gray zone. They're important. They're the foundation of everything that goes on in public safety, but there's no direct grants for them. So we have been working on this project for 4 years and going down every avenue possible to try to find funding for it.
Councilor Beal.
I'm intrigued by the possibility of consolidating with Augusta and just having a single comm center. You know, 70,000 people I mean, for one comm center is not a lot. Would that be a possibility?
You're more than welcome to field that one, sir. I was going to say, it's above my pay grade.
I'm just, it's Augusta, we're all interested in saving money, and if we can come up with a single comm center, maybe it's cheaper for both cities.
Right, so we had these discussions when Waterville became a PSAP, and so the history there, and I know Councilor Green's very familiar because she was here and you may not be. So the history was in January of 2023, Somerset County Regional Communication Center was our PSAP. And they came and said that they could no longer provide that because the Kennebec County towns that they were dispatching or handling PSAP services for were over 50% of their calls, and they could no longer handle that call volume. So that left a huge gap in services. There were really two places that had potential to pick that up, Augusta and Waterville. We called every PSAP in the state, and none of them could take that call volume on. So fortunately, Androscoggin was able to take on the towns in southern Kennebec County, and Waterville took on the towns in northern Kennebec County as a PSAP, answering their 911 calls. When we did that, we had meetings with Augusta to talk with Augusta to see if they were interested in becoming a PSAP, and they were not. And so, you know, when we talk about regionalization, one of the problems that we have is you think that it would save money, but you know, when you look at the call volume between the two agencies, it would, you know, I don't think Augusta's ready to give up their dispatch services, and we're the PSAP, so we need to remain the PSAP, right? Somebody has to answer the 911 calls. So if we were to take Augusta on, you're talking about adding a staff of like 10 dispatchers. So that's not cheap. It would be a revenue, but the revenue would never match what it would cost to bring them on. That's why when we look at bringing other communities on to the comm center in the area, right now the comm center is at the breaking point, right? And so if we add anyone else, then we would have to add staff. And so in order to add staff, that one community that would come on would have to largely pay for the additional staff, because I can't say to the other 9 communities, hey, we're being successful right now and we're managing to provide you the services that we promised we would provide you. P.S. this other town's coming on and you're gonna have to take additional costs because of this other town. So the cost would have to be put on that other town. And so it's not really practical to do that at this time, but we did look at it when we became the PSAP several years ago, when we had meetings with Augusta about that.
I understand what you're saying. In the grand scheme of things, you consolidate dispatch centers, we ought to be able to do it in such a way to save the region money. And I know it's not practical, but it just seems like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, but it doesn't save money when you have to add staff and bring people on. And so it ends up being one place paying the same amount that 2 places were paying, and then you have to marry the union contracts. And so there's a lot of moving parts when you have regionalization. And, you know, right now, the other thing to be clear about, this particular grant also covers Oakland, Winslow, and Clinton for the CAD system, right? But when you start looking at all those moving parts and bringing additional people in, contracts, paying people, increased call volume, it's not as easy as it sounds and it is to just say. So I understand what you're saying. We've looked at it. It wasn't feasible, and I don't think that Augusta would be on board with it, but that's where we stand at this moment.
So how much work is Augusta doing on this? Is it all your staff or is it all Waterville staff?
I mean, Dan's been the primary person on this grant, but Augusta has been involved from the start. And again, Oakland, Winslow, and Clinton are included as well in the regional CAD piece of it.
How many PSAPs are there in Maine again?
26, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, 25. They dropped it to 24, and then when they added us, it was 25.
You 12 busiest. I was just trying to where we ranked out of.
Yeah,
how many there were.
and again, 3rd busiest when you look at per capita dispatchers.
Yeah. Awesome. Councilor Green?
Yeah, regarding regional collaboration, I mean, that is the title of one of the slides, right? And it lists 11 participating communities. Are those communities involved in the PSAP portion of this, or the CAD portion, or both?
So Oakland, Winslow, Clinton, Augusta, and Waterville are involved in the CAD portion, and Hollowell, because Augusta dispatches for Hollowell. So we dispatch for 9 fire communities. So in addition to Oakland, Winslow, Clinton, and Waterville, where we do everybody, police, fire, EMS, there's additional communities, Albion, Rome, Sydney, for example, that we just do fire. So they are benefiting overall from the CAD system, right? Because we're dispatching them for fire. But as far as like doing the work, one person has to be the point. So Dan has been the point person.
Okay, I guess that wasn't exactly my question, but it sounds like, so are we serving Augusta through the PSAP
No.
program? We're not.
No,
So
they're
they have
served
their
through
own.
the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we will be connected with them through the CAD system.
Right. So ideally, we're supposed to be connected now. It's just not working, right? And so when the new system gets in, we'll be connected and able to do cross-agency checks and see what other agencies have done, which is helpful for police. And I'm not sure the interoperability for fire, I think Dan touched on it a little bit, but for us, if we're dealing with somebody in Waterville, very likely Augusta or another agency is dealing with them. If we run a cross-agency check, we can see that. Right now, that's broken.
Yeah. So, so it's great that this proposal has been submitted and approved. And obviously, it's not just a Waterville proposal. It's really essential to the whole region. Are the other communities involved in, communicating with the congressional offices about advocating for this?
I'm going to let Dan answer that because he was so involved in that
Okay.
process. The answer is yes, but I want him to be able to
Okay,
answer how.
great, thank you.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with CDS funding or not, but they require.
I'm pretty familiar.
They require like a minimum of 3 letters.
Yeah.
Of support.
Right.
So we went around and met with town councils and
Mm-hmm.
city councils for all the 9 communities. Augusta did the same thing with them. We received well over 50 letters of support to
Mm-hmm.
attach to this. Some have been written by counselors here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So those letters were huge in
Yeah.
moving this
Okay.
forward. So, yes.
That's in getting it approved. But just as far as, communicating the importance, I mean, I guess that work has been done, but,
This has been a 4-year project.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
spent a lot of nights. There's hundreds of emails. We've
Mm-hmm.
personally worked with every police chief, every fire chief to let them know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They've all written letters of support for the project. They all know, they're all in the same boat.
okay. Well, thank you for all your work on this. What I'm also seeing is a continuing theme of call volume is going up, more services needed, and Waterville seems to be stepping up and providing. And I do think we need to look at, while we're operating as usual, we need to look at other ways that we can involve not just other communities, but other jurisdictions, like the county. I mean, when a PSAP goes down, surely there should be county and state level involvement. So this isn't directed at you. I just wanted to put that out there because it is a disturbing pattern that our emergency services are incredibly taxed right now. So again, thank you for your work on this. Really hope it goes through.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you folks have any additional questions after the meeting, feel free to email me, and I will try to answer them as best as I can.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to council comments. Any members of the council have any council comments and/or committee reports? Councilor Beal.
The Parks and Rec Committee is we started meeting to focus on the strategic plan. We should have a draft out for initial review at the end of this week. It'll be more a framework of how to proceed than a draft of a complete document. But we're initially focusing on youth sports and as a way to proceed. So we're making some pretty good progress on that. I've been also on another topic, parking downtown. I've been reached, a couple of constituents I've talked to have been concerned about the pending onslaught of Colby students downtown. And I understand that Nick is going to be working on this and meeting with the Colby security chief. And we're hoping to get some guidance from Colby as to what they're going to do. If nothing else, get all their students to put their stickers on their car so we know who the offenders are. So we're working that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other council comments? All right. Seeing none, I will move it to public comment. Anyone wishing to make a public comment? One second.
Ryan Tibbetts, Ward 4. Good evening. 2 weeks ago yesterday, I witnessed something that I, as a resident of the city of Waterville and a citizen of the United States, hoped I never would. I watched as a majority of the city council, you know who you are, voted to attest that they consider their whims to supersede the authority of the federal government. I watched they proclaimed their complete contempt for the rule of law. I watched as they made abundantly clear their disdain for the professional opinion of our chief of police. I watched as they acknowledged that the lives of Kate Steinle, Laken Riley, Rachel Morin, Jocelyn Nungary, and countless others mean less than nothing to them. I watched as they admitted without shame that they consider the comfort and safety of illegal aliens within our borders of greater importance than the comfort and safety of their own constituents. I am disgusted, I am angered, but more so I am deeply saddened to see that our fair city has fallen victim to the socialist mindset, the Trump derangement syndrome, and the suicidal empathy that has come to plague so many cities across this nation. I can only hope that none of us are ever forced to suffer the potentially fatal consequences of the hubris that you have displayed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment this evening?
I'm Jeremy,
Good evening.
Ward 5. I think this is on. Maybe I'm not talking into it clearly. Hello. Yeah, okay.
Shadow, let us know.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. So, yeah, I'm going to echo a couple of the things that the gentleman that just spoke said. And I'm going to even go further in the list of U.S. citizens that have been murdered by illegal aliens residing in this country because of soft immigration policies. Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Morin, Elizabeth Medina, Ruby Garcia, Kayla Hamilton, Nalufa Eastman, Luis Lopez, Chung Wood, Jailu Lopez, Jeremy Deghand, Sheridan Gorman, Larisha Sherelle Thompson, Natalie Roseanne's unborn child, Molly Tibbetts, Kate Steinle, Jamil Shaw, Joshua Wilkerson, Grant Ronenbeck, Casey Chadwick, Maria Fuertes, Marilyn Ferris, Tony Bologna, and his two sons, Matthew and Michael. Deputy Danny Oliver, Detective Michael Davis Jr., Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, Drew Rosenberg, Dominic Durden. Those are just 30 names of, I don't even have the actual real number of how many American citizens have been killed by illegal aliens residing in this country. I can probably rattle off 10, but I needed a list. And I kind of wish I would do better at remembering their names. I don't think many of you would be able to name one that's been killed by an illegal alien because of failed policies, just like the one that this city council passed as a virtue signal. It really didn't matter if this city passed that ordinance or not. The state passed a law that basically says there will be limited cooperation and communications. And I'm also going to ask you guys again, and I've sent a couple of videos of the angel families speaking to a couple of the people on this council. And I think that every single one of you should watch those videos. I know many of you have children, but these angel families, those are the families of the children that have been murdered by illegal aliens residing in this country. And it's heartbreaking. I can't watch them without crying or becoming emotional. And I think that if you guys sat down and watched those videos, you might come to the same conclusion that they're pretty emotional and tragic and terrible and that should never happen. And it's because of policies like this that those things happen. And you have no problem flouting federal law, but you're afraid to flout state law.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Anyone else for public comment this evening? Anyone online, D? I'm getting in trouble. So. All right. All right. With that, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
A second.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, also entertaining a motion to, read by title only.
Motion to read by title only.
A second.
All those in favor? Wonderful. Thank you very much. Moving on to old business, order 142, 2026.
Accept FAA Grant AP 32.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion with regard to the second reading of this particular order? Anyone in the public? Seeing none. D, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Beal?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to ordinance 143, 2026.
Amend the zoning map 70, 72, and 74 Pleasant Street and 5 Middle Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any comments or concerns with the second reading of this? Anyone from the public? Seeing none. D, roll call, please.
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Beal?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to ordinance 144, 2026.
Amend mobile or temporary food vendors ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions or concerns with this? Anyone in the public? Seeing none. D, roll call, please.
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Beal?
Yes.
Counselor Herrard?
Yes.
D, I apologize. Throw me out. Can you, at the end, just read the vote total?
I got you.
So, thank you. So with that one, it's what, 5-0?
Sorry.
You're fine.
5 in favor, 0 opposed, sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. No, you're fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, moving on to new business, Resolution 148, 2026.
Authorize issuance of a vitulers license to Jenny Allen, DBA Loon Room.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Jenny, I'm assuming you want to come up and talk about your business and what you're doing and... Of course, yeah.
Hello, council members. My name's Jenny Allen, and we have a business in Ward 2. And we live in Oakland. So we're opening up a new business called Loon Room, and it's designed to be a third space, basically a place aside from work and home where people can go and connect and help deal with some of this loneliness that seems to be pretty epidemic in the city. And we'd also like to have a used clothing component in the shop as well to help upcycle and divert, clothing from going to the trash, which is the #1 contributor of microplastics in our environment. So I know it's just a small amount, but we're trying to help as best as we can, and I hope you guys can support it. And this is my husband, Craig Allen.
Well, I don't have much to say. She said it all. We are going to be expanding to upstairs, but right now we're going to do both those things on the bottom floor, but hopefully we'll have the thrift on the second floor.
Councilor Green.
So, so this is at the location which was previously a coffee house, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and what are the hours for the new business?
The new hours are going to be Friday and Saturday from 1 to 10 p.m. and Sundays from 1 to 5 p.m.
Okay.
to begin with. We're going to hope to expand in the future, but we just have to, see if we can make it work as a
Okay.
business.
Yeah, great. So it looks like you're serving food, liquor, and amusements.
Correct.
Yeah, the amusement part, we weren't sure why, but yeah, because we were planning to have events. That's one reason to be
Right.
open just 3 days, to just pack it in and not spread it apart, and actually have open mics, open comedy, discussions, all kinds of things like that. But, so we think of it as an event space, and it's still a coffee house as well,
Yep.
basically,
Great.
too.
Fair trade, organic coffees, but also beer and wine.
All right.
Okay.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor? All right. Very good. All right, moving.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for, again, taking the concept and reopening something there in the space. So we certainly appreciate it, and best of luck to you. And we have a couple more things to kind of go here, but this is the first one, and so now we'll tackle these other two. Probably
Perfect.
relatively easy. But thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, Resolution 149, 2026.
Authorize the issuance of a liquor license to Jenny Allen doing business as Loon Room.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, moving on to Resolution 150, 2026.
Authorize the issuance of a special amusement license to Jenny Allen doing business as Loon Room.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion, comments, concerns? Seeing none. D, all those in favor?
Nope.
Oh, sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Kim Halley, Ward 6, you can take your vote. I just want to make a comment.
Okay, feel free.
Oh, so I've known Jenny and Craig for a long time, and I've been actually helping them in the space. And on August 14
Yeah?
will be the first night, and it is going to be Beatles night. Oh, you've got them.
Yeah,
So
huh?
sweet. Read it right out loud, Mike.
Well, just join us, 8/14/2026, open mic night. It's Beatles night from 6 to 9 p.m.
And we would love for any musical folk across your way.
Well, yeah, I'm
to
gonna
come
reach
on
out.
over. So,
Yeah.
all right, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, with that, D, I'm sorry, all those in favor? Any opposed?
5 in
Okay.
favor, 0
Thank-
opposed.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry. All right, moving on to Resolution 151, 2026.
Selection of airport consultant and notice to proceed.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Randy, you want to, I'm assuming this is part of the previous?
It is.
Thank you.
Several months ago, we put a request for proposal or qualifications rather, request for qualifications out to all the airport consultants. We had a small committee of 5 people, and we went through all of those qualifications from all the different airport consultants, and we opted to stay with the same consultant that did our master plan. We felt they were the most qualified to help continue to guide us in the right direction. So this will hire them based on our review of their qualifications to do this next project. So every 5 years, we're required to go through this process. This just happens to be at the same time we're doing this project. So they would be the ones that will do the design and permitting for the grant that you guys just approved. And they will continue to move forward with us for the next 5 years.
Awesome. Any questions? Councilor Green.
Yeah, so a request, an RFQ, as opposed to an RFP. What is there? Was there a fixed amount that you were putting out for the project?
The way that the FAA requires that we do the process is it's not based on price, it's based on qualifications.
Okay.
So to use the federal grant, it has to kind of go by their.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the interest of the fees, they actually, so we meet with the state and the FAA and this is what we want for a project. And then I meet with the consultant and we discuss the scope of the project. They then get to me a scope of the entire project that is broken down like crazy, okay? And then they gave me a blank spreadsheet and say, so I do what's called an IFE, independent fee estimate. And I look at the wages, the Bacon Davis stuff, all of the things that are required. And I say, this is what I believe the fee should be for doing this scope of work. Then they provide me what they feel their scope is going to be. And we have to be within 20%. And we weren't. So I went back to them and said, I don't feel that these fees are appropriate. I would like to combine these things. We negotiate, we come up with a price. So that's how that came to be.
All right. Well, thank you for showing us how the sausage is made, so to speak.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly is. Any other questions for Randy this evening? All right, wonderful, thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to Resolution 152, 2026.
Approve use of undesignated general fund balance for road and sidewalk paving of Summer Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Matthew, good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank
How are
you. So we're anxious to do some paving. Here we are in August. The amount that we are requesting from fund balance is the difference that we need to make up the contract price for Summer Street and sidewalk. We're drawing on 3 different sources of funding for the project, one being a carry forward pavement account from past bonds that has accumulated up to roughly $274,000. We'll be using $125,000 from our operating budget, FY27. And then we're hoping to use roughly $276,000 from fund balance to do Summer Street. We opened bids back in March for both Grove Street and Summer Street. Pared it down to summer, and we're mainly paving is anxious to get moving. They're able to begin, if approved, end of August, and they expected the project to take roughly 5 weeks, so the end of, around the beginning of October. They'll be finished. Yeah,
Okay.
Anxious to move forward with it.
Okay. Just because undoubtedly members of the council will probably get questions as to how do we arrive at Summer Street. My street requires all of these things too. Like, I mean, like I don't think you could probably walk on any street or sidewalk, and we're challenged at best. So how does that process? I know we have, if we go on the website, there is a 5-year plan that we put together a few years ago. Does that get updated and looked at all the time, and, how does that process work?
It does, and we're always anxious to hear, input from anybody, in hoping between our department and admin, that those reviews or statements can be conveyed to us, because they are all taken into the mix. So just briefly, Wright Pierce Engineering, back in 2022-23, did a citywide assessment for us. We call it RAMP. It's a Road Assessment Management Plan. They rate streets from no maintenance, routine, preventative, rehabilitate, and reconstruct, 5 different categories. As part of their criteria, of course, they use amount of traffic on any given street, how important the street is, schools, hospitals, population, and overall condition of the road. And then they try to, when we put the 5-year plan together, we try to keep them in one area, so mobilization isn't a big extra cost. So we want them to be in the same general area, so they don't have to go from one end of town to the other, because that would cost significantly more. Yeah, and I know it's tricky, Mayor, because when you look around, there are a lot of streets that are in need of repair. So that's why we're anxious to get moving on summer, and hoping that the council will consider bonding next year, so we can get back in line with our 5-year plan. I'm proud of the 5-year plan as far as what we've been able to do. We maintained all the roads in 2024. That included Spring, Concourse, Messalonsky Ave, Kennebec, and Lockwood. We maintained all of 25. That was Park, Burley, and Averill Terrace. And we also did Merrill Street because we had money left. 2026 called for summer, Temple Street and Grove. So like I said before, we dropped Grove, and Temple Street's not ready because of the Hedda Falls Village. Right. So that's, we're hoping to put that in with 2027, and to look forward to 27, we've got Bowtel and Sanger. So what we'd like to do for 27 is Bowtel, Sanger, Grove, and Temple. So I can share those numbers with the city manager when he's back, and he can share them with you. So, yeah. Okay. So that's where we are.
All right. Wonderful. Any other questions for this? All right. Seeing none. All those in favor?
5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving on to Resolution 153, 2026.
Accept bid for local paving and sidewalk project.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right.
Yep, very comfortable with Mainly Paving. We received 3 bids. We'd like to accept Mainly's. They were roughly $45,000 below the second base bid, and let's see, almost $100,000 less than the third bid that we received. So we think it's fair. John Lombardi, our assistant engineer, has been, communicating with them, because, like I said, we opened the bids in March, so they've been anxious and curious about where we were at. So John did reach out to them because he knew that it was on the agenda, and we're anxious to let them know tomorrow that they can move forward. We always do include a contingency of 10% because there are things underground that we can't see. We think we know everything, and the engineers did too, but they don't. So things do come up. So we did include 10% contingency, which brought the total price to $675.
All right. Any questions, comments? All right. Seeing none. D, all those in favor, sorry.
5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. And moving on to Resolution 154, 2026.
Authorize the purchase of line striping machine.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Randy. I apologize, we could have put these back. I'm sorry.
So, a lot of lines up at the airport, and they have to be striped every couple of years. We have been fortunate where we've aligned certain projects and been able to complete a lot of striping when those projects were happening, such as the runway repaving project or a slurry seal project that we've done for our pavement preservation. The taxiway was just redone 2 years ago, so we've been pretty good. Except for the last time we went to do a restriping project on the runway, and it blew my mind, the cost to do it at the federal level. It was over $200,000 to stripe just the primary runway. I was like, why? Why? But it's because of how the process goes. We paid $70,000 to a consultant to tell us to put paint right where we had paint, right? So it's asinine. I, in good conscience, cannot do that, even if we only have a 5 or 6% local share on that. It also eats up our entitlement funding. So we get $150,000 from the federal government every year to facilitate a lot of these projects. Well, if I'm eating up a year and a half worth of funding on paint, that really is detrimental to the other projects that we want to get done. So I've talked with other airports, including Sanford. They bought their own striping machine. They do it themselves. So for the cost of $40,000, we can get our own machine, and then I'll allocate money in our maintenance budget every year, and we'll pick a portion of the airport to paint. So we'll do it in-house and keep things up to par and up to compliance, so.
Do we have a striping machine, or does Public Works have? Matt just left.
Yeah, they have a machine, but, I mean, we're already outsourcing a lot of the striping that they have to do because of the amount of time that it takes for their crews, the streets. We've had them come up in the past and help us. They just don't have the time or resources, and the machinery that they have to do the streets is a little different than the machinery that we would need for the runway. So, for example, they have, it's like a trailer. The paint sits on it, and the guy sits on the edge, and they can do a center line. Whereas we have a lot of skips, and the layout of it is, it's a lot of handwork, and it's a lot of short, striated lines. So it has to be within a 1/4 inch, so there's a lot. It's a little bit different than doing a road, if you will. And the specific machine here, it is made for doing this type of work, as opposed to single long line.
All right, fair enough. Any questions? Councilor Haran.
Do we have an idea roughly the lifespan of this type of equipment?
Well, we take very good care of our equipment. I would expect that we would see at least a minimum of 20 years out of this.
Nice.
You know, of course, with maintenance and upkeep, you know, we would use it primarily, you know, in the summertime for a few months, or, you know, a few weeks, get the job done, you know, pick away at as we have time. So it's not like it's going to be out and used year-round all the time, so it should last us a good long time.
Great, thank you.
Fair enough. Anyone else? Any members of the public? Anyone online? Ask. Okay. Hey, Randy, thank you very much. All right. All those in favor?
5 in favor, 0 opposed.
All right. Wonderful. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, let's just take a minute, like really quick. Any second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Awesome. Wonderful. Have a great night.